There are numerous fast food chains out there, but in terms of seafood, it's a bit of a smaller pond. The big fish, of course, is none other than Long John Silver's. Let's dive into their history, then see where the Long John Silver's ship could be sailing to next. Long John Silver's is, of course, all about seafood. However, like many fast food joints, its story started with a simple hamburger stand way back in 1929. Jerome Lederer opened a small 6-seat hamburger stand called the White Tavern Shop in Shelbyville, Kentucky at the start of the Great Depression. He eventually opened a total of 13 White Tavern shops, but then was forced to close 10 of them due to shortages in supplies and manpower during World War II. Not to be discouraged, Lederer established the restaurant group Jericho Inc. in 1946 and opened a restaurant in Lexington, Kentucky called Jerry's Five and Dime. Eager to try a restaurant idea outside of hamburgers, Jericho tried a number of different menu themes from roast beef to Spanish food before landing on fish. Then it wasn't long before the first Long John Silver's Fish and Chips was opened up in 1969. You might assume that Long John Silver's would embrace their fast food family tree roots that date back to hamburgers in the Great Depression, but that doesn't seem to be the case. The company's history on Long John Silver's official website doesn't stretch back prior to 1969, when they officially opened without talk of the family of restaurants that brought them into being. Considering that almost every main entree item is deep fried to a golden brown and the restaurant serves bags of fried Krispies, it's safe to say that nobody's turning to Long John Silver's for health food. Even with a reputation for not having the healthiest grub, it takes some effort to win the accolades of Worst Restaurant Meal in America. In 2013, the Center for Science in the Public Interest gave Long John's Big Catch Meal the not-so-praiseworthy title. So what does the worst restaurant meal in America look like exactly? Well, it was a 4.5-ounce fish fillet, onion rings or fries, and hush puppies, all deep-fried of course. While the meal didn't take the highest calorie count in the fast food division, topping out at 1,320 calories, its sodium and trans fat levels were out of control. To show just how bad the meal was found to be, consider this. The American Heart Association and other health professionals recommend that people only eat about 2 grams of trans fat a day and ideally limit salt to around 1,500 milligrams a day. However, the Big Catch had 33 grams of trans fat and 3,700 milligrams of sodium. Maybe it was merely coincidence, but when The Onion writes an article about your food with a fictional menu item called Abomination from the Deep, maybe it's time to consider stepping back from the deep fryer. Long John Silver's doesn't mess around when it comes to Lent. That's when it's time to move some serious fish. The religious observance beginning with Ash Wednesday and concluding with Easter is observed by an estimated 1.2 billion Catholics who abstain from eating meat on Ash Wednesday and all of the Fridays during the 40-day Lenten period. The executives at Long John Silver's have dollar signs in their eyes during this time of year and cater to the many Catholics choosing to eat more fish in place of meat. To give you some perspective on just how much business booms for the seafood franchise, they saw a 130% increase on Ash Wednesday in 2017 and average sales increase of 84% on every Friday during the season. In order to reel in as many customers during Lent as possible, LJS offers special coupon books to Catholic churches, hands out Friday customer loyalty cards, and runs contests to win Alaskan and Caribbean cruises. Long John Silver's has embraced perhaps the silliest of internet holidays, Talk Like a Pirate Day. It only makes sense for the restaurant to cater to every landlubber around in need of a fried food fix. And anybody who does their best pirate impression on the holiday is rewarded with something delicious. In 2018, for example, it was a free Twinkie, deep fried of course. Stephanie Mattingly, Vice President of Marketing, says, "Talk Like a Pirate Day is for all me hearties who love a good deal and don't want to be hornswoggled. We love to see our customers' excitement and are thrilled to share the bounty." If you really wanted to go all out for the pirate holiday, you could have even earned a free fish and fry if you were willing to dress like a pirate. Blackbeard and Captain Kidd impressions aside, LJS used the gimmicky holiday for a good cause, and in 2017 raised $50,000 for the American Cancer Society.
Shiver me timbers.
Oh, I love it when he talks that way.
She does.
Maybe the Long John Silver's crew gave you some extra Krispies with your meal, or your fish and shrimp platter was fried to perfection. Whatever the case, customers who enjoy their meal are encouraged to ring the captain's bell on their way out of the restaurant to let staff know that they had a satisfactory visit. The LJS tradition comes from a maritime practice where all ships had a bell that was used for everything from letting the crew know what time it was to a foggy conditions warning. If a ship was captured, the ship's bell even became a trophy of sorts. Of course, at Long John Silver's, it's all about dining landlubbers expressing their joy of hush puppies. Ringing the captain's bell is about the least modern way of garnering customer feedback possible, but oddly enough, this led to the inspiration for a customer feedback startup known as Hum. Hum founder Bernard Briggs was eating at a Long John Silver's when he noticed customers ringing the captain's bell after their meals. That was all it took for Briggs to develop his tech platform for restaurants to collect and analyze customer feedback into usable data. Long John Silver's has seen some rough waters over the years, and the ship nearly went down in the late 1990s. In 1998, the company filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy after weathering a decade of financial hardships and taking on more debt than it could handle. Long John Silver's dealt with its fair share of hardships in the 1990s, including a lawsuit from a West Virginia-based company who accused them of ripping off the slogan, "Grab and Go." That was followed up with yet another lawsuit that claimed Long John Silver's was within breach of contract and fraud after it failed to pay a fee of $3 million for promotional toys for the 1998 movie Lost in Space. If A&W hadn't swooped in and acquired Long John Silver's in 1999, it's very possible that the restaurant could have soon been sleeping with the fishes. The restaurant chain has also had plenty of internal strife to deal with over the years. You might recall seeing co-branded A&W and Long John Silver's locations. That was happening even before Yum Brands bought the restaurant chains. After they were purchased by Yum in 2002, they were also paired with KFC or Taco Bell, though not as commonly. When the concept began, it was sort of a success, but unfortunately, those Frankenstein restaurants eventually saw their financial success start to wither away. In 2010, Treasure Isle Inc., who owned and operated Long John's and A&W franchise locations, sued its parent company Yum Brands, arguing that Yum failed to properly support the restaurants, and as a result, locations were either closing or being weighed down by the anchor of debt. Attorneys argue that not only did A&W have veto power over operational standards and that Yum kept franchisees in the dark about cross-promotions and combo specials, but also that standalone restaurants received more support from corporate. The writing was on the wall, and Yum had washed Long John Silver's fish grease from its hands and said good riddance. After weathering bankruptcy in the late 90s and a bad experience with Yum, Long John Silver's has seen its fair share of stormy seas. The seafood restaurant hasn't given up hope, though, and has made efforts to rebrand itself and get back on course. The company appointed new CEO James O'Reilly in 2015 and is promising to continue to add more grilled items to the menu to appease the growing number of health-conscious customers. You may have also noticed that they rolled out new uniforms and changed the signs, ditching the old-style font and flag of the 1980s and 90s in favor of an updated blue lettering with a fun red fish. New uniforms and logos can only take you so far, though, and it might not be enough. The restaurant chain was operating 940 locations as of 2017, but it's still rough sailing for this battered ship. The company closed 16 restaurants in 2014, a few more in 2015 and 2017, and reviews of its existing locations have been less than stellar.
Down the hatch. Oh, delicious!
In 2017, Business Insider visited a location in Stanton, Virginia to get a first-hand look at the company's turnaround. It's kind of difficult to get excited about checking out a restaurant when the review includes phrases like grubby and claustrophobic and borderline palatable. Only time will tell, but Long John Silver's could one day be walking the plank. Check out one of our newest videos right here. Plus, even more MASH videos about restaurant chains are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.